All right, let's confront the truth. You're sitting here feeling empty inside because you care deeply about someone who treats you like a background decoration. You're always available, offering endless support and dealing with the emotional roller coaster, yet they act like you're just part of the scenery. Here's the reality. Some people only realize the worth of what they have when it slips away. And here's where it gets interesting. You can take control, show your absence strategically, and leave an unforgettable impression. Today, I'll be sharing 7 straightforward techniques to make your presence impactful so that, hopefully, they'll finally recognize the value you bring. That is, if you still care to make that kind of impression. But first, let's keep this channel thriving. You're here because someone before you liked and subscribed. So, do the same. Support this work, leave a comment for the algorithm, and let's reach more people who need a wake-up call. Now, on to the first strategy. 1. Pull back and give space. The first step in becoming memorable is pulling back and giving space, something counterintuitive but incredibly effective. Imagine this. When you're constantly available, always reaching out, and making the first move in conversations, you risk becoming predictable. Human nature tends to undervalue what's consistently accessible. We take it for granted. To make an impact, you have to shake things up. And here's where pulling back, strategically, plays a crucial role. Giving space isn't about ghosting or disappearing without a word. It's about creating a subtle void that allows them to miss your presence. This space creates a sense of anticipation and invites a deeper reflection on what you brought to the table. When you're not readily available, the person gets a glimpse of life without you, and that's when realization often starts to dawn. They begin to notice your absence, especially in the moments they would have otherwise leaned on you. It's during those routine activities, scrolling through social media, hanging out with friends, or even unwinding alone, that they're reminded of the parts of you they overlooked. Absence is more memorable than constant presence. When you create that gap, you also allow for natural curiosity to grow. They may start wondering where you are, what you're up to, and why you've become less available. Curiosity, after all, is a powerful force. It builds a magnetic draw towards you that presence alone can't achieve. But remember, the aim is not to play games or manipulate, it's about shifting the dynamic. When you pull back and focus on yourself, you show that your life is whole, with or without their constant involvement. 2. Don't expose everything online. One of the most common mistakes people make in today's world is oversharing every detail of their lives online. While social media can be a great tool for connection, it can also erode the mystery and intrigue that make relationships exciting. When you constantly post about every moment, from the coffee you had in the morning to every social event you attend, you risk becoming predictable. And predictability, when it comes to capturing someone's interest, can quickly turn into dullness. Imagine a favorite TV show. Part of what keeps you watching episode after episode is the unknown, the curiosity about what happens next. Now imagine if you already knew everything that was going to happen. There would be little incentive to tune in. The same concept applies to relationships. When you expose every part of your life, you remove the mystery that keeps someone invested in learning more about you. The essence of attraction lies partly in the unknown. When there's always more to discover, interest tends to grow. Holding back certain parts of your life, especially on social media, can actually be powerful. This doesn't mean you have to be secretive or hide everything. Instead, it's about selectively sharing the moments that reflect the best parts of you without laying out every detail. For example, instead of sharing every meal or night out, you might post sparingly and only about things that genuinely reflect who you are and what you enjoy. When the person can't readily follow every step you take, they may start wondering more about your life and feel an urge to get closer to you, to discover what's hidden from view. In addition, creating this veil of mystery signals that your life is rich and fulfilling outside of social media. It shows that you're selective with what you share, meaning there are parts of your life that are meant only for you or for those closest to you. This choice conveys self-worth and confidence, subtly saying, I have a life that doesn't need validation from others. Ultimately, by keeping parts of your life private, you create a natural curiosity that makes your presence much more memorable. Every interaction, both online and offline, becomes more meaningful because there's more to discover each time. Embrace the power of selective sharing. Let them wonder what's going on in your world, and let that curiosity draw them closer. 3. Cultivate your own life. One of the most attractive qualities in a person is having a life that's full and independent. When your happiness doesn't depend on someone else's attention or approval, you radiate confidence and a natural allure that's hard to ignore. Cultivating your own life isn't just about appearing strong. It's about genuinely building a fulfilling life filled with friends, hobbies, and passions that light you up from within. Think about it. People are naturally drawn to those who exude positivity and purpose. When you're fully engaged in activities that make you happy, it shows. You're likely to come across as interesting and vibrant, a person who isn't waiting around for someone else to bring meaning to their life. Building a life you're proud of sends a strong message. I'm fulfilled, and I don't need anyone else to validate my worth. This sense of independence is attractive because it signals that your happiness and sense of self-worth come from within, not from external sources. Having your own life also protects you from falling into patterns of dependency or neediness, which can be draining and unattractive to others. Instead of waiting for someone's call or text to feel validated, you're busy exploring new hobbies, spending quality time with friends, or working on personal goals. Whether it's developing a skill, engaging in creative activities, or setting aside time for fitness and self-improvement, investing in yourself helps you grow as a person. And the more you grow, the more naturally magnetic you become to others. Interestingly, when the person sees that you have a life filled with meaning and joy, they often start to view your presence as a privilege rather than a given. They may even feel a desire to be a part of that joy-filled life, which can deepen the bond between you. However, the purpose here isn't to make anyone jealous or create a sense of FOMO, fear of missing out. It's about genuinely being content and living your life to the fullest. Ultimately, cultivating your own life is a win-win. Not only does it help you build a happier, richer life, but it also allows others to see you as someone who's independent and self-sufficient, qualities that are truly unforgettable. Living a life that's fulfilling on its own terms allows you to offer companionship by choice, not necessity, which makes your presence all the more valuable. 4. Be selective with your availability. Being available all the time might seem like a way to show care, but in reality, it can quickly lead to being taken for granted. When you're always there at a moment's notice, responding instantly and prioritizing someone else's needs over your own, you start to lose value in their eyes. The more predictable you are, the more likely it is that they'll see you as something guaranteed rather than a unique and valued presence. Creating a bit of distance, by contrast, isn't about ignoring someone or playing hard to get. It's about valuing your time and energy. Being selective with your availability tells the person that your time is precious, and they can't expect you to be at their beck and call. When you don't respond immediately or make yourself available constantly, you communicate that you have a life outside of them, one filled with other priorities, interests, and commitments. This doesn't mean you should ignore or dismiss someone you care about, but it does mean balancing how much you give of yourself. For instance, instead of responding instantly to every message, take a step back and answer when it's convenient. By doing this, you create a sense of anticipation. When they finally get your attention, it feels more significant because it's not always readily available. The effect of selective availability is that every interaction gains more meaning. The person may start to appreciate the time you spend together because it's not something they can take for granted. They'll start to recognize that being with you is something special, not an everyday routine. In many cases, absence can make the heart grow fonder. When you're not around all the time, the person may even begin to actively seek your company, appreciating every conversation or meeting as a unique experience. 5. Be patient, not desperate. When trying to make someone miss you or recognize your value, impatience can often lead to hasty, counterproductive actions. Many people make the mistake of rushing feelings, expecting immediate validation or pushing for attention. The truth is, building genuine emotional connections and recognition doesn't happen overnight, and trying to force it often backfires. Instead, patience is essential to allow things to unfold naturally, without desperate attempts that could compromise your self-respect and turn the other person away. Patience in this context is about giving space for the other person to come to their own realizations without feeling pressured or overwhelmed. When you constantly seek their attention, it can convey neediness, which may feel burdensome rather than inviting. Just as a fine wine takes time to develop its full flavor, true affection and admiration require space and time to grow. Rushing can create forced or shallow connections, while patience allows emotions to deepen on their own terms. Another important element of patience is focusing on what you can control: your own actions, growth, and mindset. Instead of waiting anxiously for someone to acknowledge your worth, invest in yourself. Spend time on activities and people that enrich your life and continue pursuing your passions. This positive self-focus not only makes you more interesting, but also projects confidence and fulfillment, qualities that naturally attract others. When someone sees that you're content and thriving without relying on them, it builds intrigue and admiration. It's also worth noting that patience isn't synonymous with passivity. You're not sitting around waiting aimlessly, rather, you're actively nurturing your life and interests while allowing time for things to develop organically. This mature approach positions you as someone who's in control of their emotions and respects their own journey. Patience becomes a form of strength, showing that you're willing to wait for something meaningful rather than settling for immediate, shallow validation. In the end, patience in relationships reflects confidence and a high sense of self-worth. When you let go of desperation, you create a space where genuine connections can emerge. Allow emotions to evolve naturally without forcing outcomes. In this calm and steady approach, you become someone worth remembering, not because you demanded attention, but because you embraced your worth with quiet assurance and let things take their natural course. 6. Respect yourself and set boundaries. One of the most crucial steps in ensuring you're valued and remembered is to respect yourself fully and set clear boundaries. Often, people who find themselves consistently overlooked or undervalued allow it to happen because they don't set firm boundaries. Every time you accept disrespect, ignore red flags, or let someone take you for granted, you send a message that you're willing to compromise your worth. However, setting boundaries demonstrates that you know what you deserve and won't settle for less. Respecting yourself begins with understanding your own needs, values, and standards. When you know what you're worth, it becomes easier to communicate that worth to others. For example, if someone frequently cancels plans last minute, doesn't respond to messages, or makes you feel like an afterthought, it's essential to address it instead of brushing it off. Addressing such behavior shows that you're willing to stand up for yourself, which earns respect not only from others, but also reinforces it within yourself. Setting boundaries isn't about putting up walls or being confrontational. It's about knowing what you'll accept and what you won't. When you communicate those boundaries, you create a clear standard for how you wish to be treated. This might mean declining invitations if they come only at the last minute, or not tolerating disrespectful communication. When others see that you're confident enough to walk away from situations that don't honor your worth, they're far more likely to treat you with respect and value your presence. In addition, respecting yourself and setting boundaries often translates into increased self-esteem and a stronger sense of self-worth. By standing firm in what you believe you deserve, you become less likely to compromise for anything less than genuine respect and appreciation. This strength makes you memorable because it's rare and commands respect. 7. Embrace your independence and show your strength. Finally, one of the most empowering ways to leave a lasting impact on someone is by embracing your independence and showcasing your inner strength. When you make it clear that you're not dependent on anyone else for happiness or validation, you demonstrate a unique strength that others admire and remember. Independence is magnetic because it shows that you have a sense of self-worth and contentment that isn't tied to external validation. Being independent isn't about avoiding relationships. It's about bringing your full self into every connection, confident that you have a life that's fulfilling in its own right. When you pursue your own goals, hobbies, and passions, you naturally exude a sense of purpose. This purpose-driven approach not only makes you more attractive, but also shows that your happiness is self-generated and doesn't hinge on anyone else's presence. People are drawn to those who are whole and fulfilled on their own terms, as it signals maturity, resilience, and depth. Now it's up to you. Don't just be another option. Set the standards for how you're treated. Remember, life is too short to be a side character. Be unforgettable by respecting yourself first. If you need a push, you know where to find me. Until next time, keep growing stronger and valuing your journey.